Don Oswald with Eat Love Triathlon. We help endurance athletes eat well by using plant foods so that they can perform their best and recover faster. It's my pleasure today to have six-time Ironman world champ Mark Allen with us today, and we're going to talk a little bit about staying healthy, fit, and vibrant as we get older. And Mark, I just want to thank you for coming on today, and I appreciate your time. And before we get started, though, I have to ask you a question. I did a little research, and I can't really find the actual answer, so I thought I'd just ask the man. So, where did the nickname the grip come from, and how did that evolve? And I've heard that a lot, and so I've tried to research it out, and I haven't really been able to find a for sure answer.
Yeah, I mean, some people actually, that's what they call me, the grip. They go, "Hey, grip," and my Instagram is Mark Allen Grip.
Right.
It was actually early in my career. I was about the second or third year into competing, and I was training in San Diego, and I had made a huge jump in my cycling one winter, and I did a lot of the weekly group rides that we had down there that were really great training, to have that community of athletes and everybody getting out there and sort of like going for it and
pushing each other. Yeah.
And so, a lot of the guys, the ride would start out and, they wanted to chit chat and BS for a little bit longer than I was in the mood for. And so that year, since I was riding so strong, pretty much right after a few minutes, I'd just get down in the drops. This was before aero bars, when you were actually riding the road frame, and I just start going. And this one ride, I got down in the drops, and this one guy goes, "Uh-oh, he's got the grip. Hold on. It's the grip of death. Here it comes." And he just started calling me the grip after that, and it just stuck, and it just was like a name that yeah, it's kind of a fun name because I'm not, in a sense, I'm really not like a super aggressive kind of guy. I competed more as a way to sort of explore my outer limits than I was to try to beat other people. I certainly use other people to propel myself to those levels, which is what the competition is all about. Anybody who tells you I just do the race on my own terms and on my own, following my own plan, my own pace. It's like, if you do that, then just go out the next day and do it on your own for free.
Exactly.
It's like, no, you're using everybody else's motivation and his excitement and tapping into that whole energy to really propel yourself to a place that you couldn't go on your own. And that's what's one exciting element of competition. But anyway, so that's the story of the grip.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thanks. Yeah, I just couldn't really find anything on that. So yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So yeah, however you want to start out, I know that, I'm 57. I don't know, how old are you?
I'm 93, but I don't look a day over 100.
You don't look at all.
No, I'm 63, and
63. So
when I turned 50, I kind of had one of those life reckoning moments. I woke up and, I age hasn't really bothered me, but, and 50 didn't bother me, but it was a point of reflection. I thought, you know what? I'm at least probably halfway through this journey called life. And so, what things do I really want to just finally leave behind? What things do I want to change about the way I approach life? How will I approach life as I go into this maybe second half of everything, and how can I maintain vitality and strength and flexibility and be able to move and exercise and still enjoy a lot of the things that I have done my whole life up to that point. Because I had seen, I've coached triathletes for whatever, over 25 years now, and there are changes that happen as you get older. Women go through menopause, men, their testosterone levels drop. There are physiological things that change in your body. And so it's like, how do you continue to enjoy the sports that you love to do? How do you maintain health? How do you keep it all balanced so that, you know, as a 63-year-old or a 57-year-old or whatever, you're not trying to be a 25-year-old.
Right.
And so since I turned 50, I've kind of been on that quest, like what's the formula for folks that are starting to get into that maybe transition time? I mean, nothing's like overnight. Everything is very slow, you know, so it's like all of a sudden you wake up and you go, wait a minute, you know, I'm stiff and I'm sore. And I that workout I did hard was like 3 days ago or 4 days ago. And usually by now it's like way over. You realize, okay, I need to attend maybe more to recovery, or maybe I can't push my body as frequently as I did in the past. Maybe my time goals are completely unrealistic and I'm going to burn myself out trying to stay at that level. So it's been a kind of a 12, 13-year quest. And I kind of feel like I've hit on a few things that for me personally really seem to be the rhythm of how to sort of keep everything firing and functioning as you start to age. And so, you know, what are some of those things? Well, none of it's a mystery. None of it's going to be earth shattering. It's just that things you kind of have to do. One of them is, for sure, you have to continue to do cardiovascular exercise. And, you know, people who are hardcore athletes, you know, they're on that part all the time. And let me digress for one moment. It seems like people who are over 50 or over 60, there's kind of like these two fairly big groups. One of them is the athlete who is constantly out there doing all their stuff and they're super fit. And then there's the other group that maybe has done very little or nothing. And so they're exploring, how do I engage my body, because I can see what's happening to it and I don't feel good. And a lot of what those folks end up being guided by are workouts and programs that actually are so modest in the demand on their body that they really don't see any changes. You know, and so somebody might go to a gym and they have these workouts for somebody who's over 50, let's say, but the actual physical movement and demand is so low that they don't lose the weight. They don't really get more fit. They feel better because they are moving a little bit, but it doesn't really give you that optimization of what you could possibly do. And so that's where I like to exist, is in that optimized point. You know, that's kind of where I've been my whole life, right?
Yeah.
In the 30s, it was about racing. Now it's about life, health, and longevity.
Yeah.
And so, you know, certainly cardiovascular, but doing cardiovascular, I have seen that obviously as people age, if they're doing the same thing all the time, let's say you're a runner, a pure runner, you know, and you've run your whole life, and, you know, everybody's body has a little imbalance in it. And so, you know, one year, 2 years with that imbalance, nothing shows up, but 20, 30, 40 years of doing that, all of a sudden, you know, it's a big deal and you can get injured and you can be out of running. And so one of the pieces, one of the elements that I have found has been very important is to, even if you don't change your sports, even if you don't mix up the sports you do one thing all the time. Let's say you're a pure runner and that's what you love and that's all you're going to do. Always try to perfect and improve the way that you actually move. So maybe you find a way to lower your shoulders, or you change your stride length a little bit, or you try to work on getting on and off your feet a little bit easier, a little bit lighter. And so every time you go out, even though you're running, each time you do a run, there's a slight different movement to it. And as you do that, then you avoid digging those deep ruts that can actually end up in injuries. Second thing is you have to do strength training. You know, it doesn't have to be going in a gym and, you know, putting 300 pounds on a bench press or you know, squat rack or whatever, but doing something that challenges the muscles. And this is absolutely key and important as you get older. You know, I started strength training when I was about 34, 35, because I had seen that my performance in triathlon was falling off compared to what I'd been able to do from just swimming, cycling, running. And it was dramatic, even back then, the difference that it made in my performance. And now, you know, I have everything set up in my home, so I can just, it's super easy. You know, I'll never have to worry about, can I go to the gym or not? You know, I've got a few free weights. I've got a little bench. I've got a device called Tonal, which is kind of like an in-home gym.
Yeah, I've seen that. How long have you had that?
I've had that for about a year and a half, and
Okay.
it's the best thing that I've found as far as keeping me regular on actually stimulating my muscles with strength moves. It's great. They have programs that you can follow with trainers, or you can do your own personal things. And then incorporating into some of that, certainly aspects that include balance, aspects that include rotation. So you have rotational strength, aspects that are functional in the way that you're doing the move. And so doing those two simple things, cardio and strength, very simple, but doing them. And people go, well, is it okay to work out every day? You know, it's like, if you're going, the answer is yes. And if you can't work out every day, it's probably because you're doing stuff too hard or too demanding, and you wake up the next day and you felt like you're hit over the head with a brick.
Right.
And as we age, I think it's much more important to maintain consistency than it is to try to maintain a high level of intensity.
Yeah.
And those are very different approaches.
Yeah, I agree. I found that, you know, I kind of started late in my 40s, in my middle 40s, started doing triathlon. So I haven't really been doing it a long time. And I saw a really quick progression after I kind of got into longer distances. And I mean, it was fun to be able to challenge myself and to be kind of in the top of the age groups and stuff like that. And I mean, I'm finding I haven't really, I feel like that I haven't even kind of reached my peak. I don't know. It's just like I'm still improving as an athlete. And even at 56, 57, I mean, I'm still feeling like you know, I'm holding my own. So that's been a good feeling and a good sign. And definitely been trying to incorporate more strength training. Stretching is the worst part for me, is I don't stretch enough. And I think that would probably go along with the strength training, is definitely keeping your body flexible.
Yeah, I always, at the end of a strength session, incorporate stretching, because you know, I have my mat out already. I don't have to make it a separate workout, and my muscles are already super warmed up. And I do mostly lower body and rotational kind of stretching. And I don't do any kind of stretching that's super intense, but just slowly breathing and easing into each of the stretches. And that is also a very, very important key as you age, because things can kind of slowly constrict, but you can keep them loose and supple if you actually work on it on a fairly regular basis. Yeah, absolutely important.
Yeah. So are you, the regiment that you have, are you doing different things on different days, or you kind of have the same routine? What are you doing?
I have no routine. It's just, I do something every day, basically.
Okay.
Unless I'm, you know, life does get in the way sometimes, but generally, you know, I always try to fit in something. I have found personally that if I get in somewhere between 45 minutes and an hour and a half of something each day, that's when I feel like I'm at optimal levels. And if I do an hour and a half, that's usually two kinds of things in one day. It's not just an hour and a half straight of running or cycling or something like that. Maybe I do a walk in the morning, and I do strength training in the afternoon. Or for me, you know, I live in Santa Cruz, California, and I love to surf. I live 2 blocks from one of the main surf breaks here. So, you know, if there's waves, I'm out there almost every day. And, you know, that's a super good sport, because it's got cardio,
Cardio,
you know, it's my yoga, because I'm moving and stretching in every direction.
Yeah.
it's stress reduction, it's time in nature, it's
Right.
time with my community of other surfers that I've gotten to know over the years. And so it kind of combines a whole lot of things. And actually surfing for me is kind of like your experience with triathlon, in that I've actually surfed since I was in high school, but I was never a hot shot as a kid. I was kind of, I don't know if I was uncoordinated or what, but
Right.
and I was focused on swimming and then triathlon. And so, but now at 63, I feel like there are still days when I do stuff that I've never been able to do before. I mean, I have my bad days now are way worse than they used to be, but I
Right.
still have those days. It's like, how did I pull that off? I've never done that before in my life. And so that's
Yeah.
kind of my, this is sort of my litmus test of seeing what's possible, because surfing doesn't have the same demand as, let's say, trying to do a peak performance in a triathlon. It's much more of a steady and gentle kind of exercise for the body. And here in Santa Cruz, cold water, I think that sort of like gets your vitalizes your body too. But one of my goals is to see how long I can stay surfing on my shortboard. Pretty much most of the other guys my age have, even if they're on a short board, they've doubled the amount of foam because they can't paddle as much. And it was funny because the other day, or my last birthday, I was out there, and I have, my birthday is January, so the water's freezing, just butt cold, and so I had, I wear a hood and booties and full wetsuit, and I paddled out, and a couple of the guys knew it was my birthday, and they're like, "Hey, happy birthday," blah blah blah, and this. So they can't, anyway, with the hood, they can't see my gray hair, and
Right.
it pulls all the wrinkles back, right? And so one of the younger guys in the water he goes, how old are you? And I go, "Oh, I'm 62. And he's like, "Dude, 62? No way." So
Yeah, that made you
anyway,
feel good.
my quest is to not, as we age, to make 60 the new 40 or the new 30. It's more to make 60 the new 60, and
Right.
if that's the goal, then I think there's a grace that comes along with what you do, because you entice yourself into maybe seeing what you can do that maybe you didn't think you could, or maintaining a certain level of health that 20 years ago growing up you never thought was possible at that age.
Right.
But at the same time, you're not pushing it so much to try to regain this youth. That youth is something that happened in your past. Take this moment and build on what you have, or build on what you don't have, into something a little bit better each and every day.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and that's something that, I don't plan on slowing down too much in the next 10, 15 years for sure. So as far as how are you advising your athletes that are going through this process? Are you kind of setting up things in their training to kind of incorporate this mindset or this kind of paradigm shift?
Yeah, like for my coaching, I coach triathletes, markallencoaching.com, and that it's fun because they get to interact with me, and I get to help them with their triathlon goals, and so the way my training is set up is that the mix of sort of aerobic and anaerobic work that an athlete gets really is based on their age, because somebody who's a younger athlete can do way more weeks of speed work before they start to kind of go down that other side is diminished return, and they can get tired, burned out, injured, or whatever. Older athletes can't sustain high intensity training as many weeks in a row as a younger athlete. But the flip side of that is that, and research has shown this, that young athletes have to do a lot more speed work to get the same changes in their mitochondria that an older person will get from speed work. So an older person, even though they can't do as many weeks of speed work, when they do it, they get huge bumps in their fitness. A younger person, they can do more weeks, but it takes them longer to get that same bump. So it kind of all evens out.
Evens out, yeah.
Which is sort of interesting. And then, a lot of times with older athletes, not necessarily the ones who are like, let's say you, who have come into the sport a little bit later in life, but the ones who have been around for a long time, I have to kind of help them redirect their purpose and meaning, you know, and really get them to focus on trying to set standards that are enticing, exciting, invigorating, but also in the realm of reality with what they're, where they're at. You know, if you're 70 and you've been racing since you're 35 or 30, you know, don't look that far back. It'll just depress you, you know? And so, you know, and somebody asked me, they go, how do you handle aging, you know? And because you were up here and, you know, granted, you still look fit, but I'm sure you're not up there. And I go, aging has been so simple. It's just that as I get older, I just lower my expectations, you know? So, and I, you know, and I joke about it, but there's a truth to that, that if you set a standard that will give you some excitement to get out and train, to be regular, if you achieve that, it's really satisfying. If you set your bar too high and you're always disappointed, you're not going to get the same excitement and positive feel from what you're doing. So I'm not saying you got to diminish your goals to the point where, oh, I know I can make that. And, you know, wow, that was great. You know, I ran a 15-minute mile. Well, you know, if it's going to test you to try to reach a 12-minute mile, then do that, or a 10-minute mile, or whatever it is, you know, so that you feel that sense of accomplishment when you do it. For me, the one of the main things right now is just that concept of consistency. You know, as you age, being consistent with your training. You know, if you're younger and you take time off for whatever reason, you can come back much easier than someone who is older and taking time off. And so for me, it's like, what can I do today to test my body, get it moving, get it active, make it flexible, make it stronger, give me more endurance, but at the same time, be not so much that when I get up tomorrow, I can still ask myself, what can I do today? To, you know, day after day after day. And it's like putting that little bit of deposit in the fitness bank account, in that life longevity bank account, and that adds up over time. And I can see that with some of my peers who exercise off and on, and you know, they have huge weight gain swings in the times when they're not exercising, and it just gets harder each time you kind of let it go and try to come back. So it's like, just you know, you get up in the morning, you know, you're going to brush your teeth at some point, right? You know, you probably will take a shower, or, you know, you're going to eat some meals throughout the day. Well, just have exercise be one of those, you know, you're going to do it at some point kind of things in your day.
Yeah, it's definitely forming that habit that, you know, that is just a part of who you are as an individual, as a person, as an identity. So what do you recommend on going back to the speed work? What are you recommending for older athletes in 50s, 60s, as far as how many days are you recommending for, you know, kind of pushing your body a little bit more than just the jogging or the light work?
Yeah, I mean, depending on who you are, one or 2 days a week for up to 4 to 6 weeks in a stretch. And then at that point, you might feel like, okay, I'm starting to feel like that's a little bit much. And then you might just need to back off for a few weeks and go back to more just aerobic kind of steady stuff. The good news is if you're doing strength training, technically strength training is anaerobic, but it's also pretty low stress on your body unless you're really, really like doing max lifting sets. And so strength training is a great way to sort of activate that anaerobic system in your body without causing the potential for getting overtrained that doing hardcore speed work can lead you into. It also really helps with all the stuff that you know, happens as you age. It can help release testosterone. It can help release human growth hormone. It can, keep your body younger and more vital. And so again, it's speed work, back to speed work, one, maybe 2 days a week,
Okay.
4 to 6 weeks in a stretch, but, monitor your recovery, see how you're doing, see how you're responding, see how you're progressing in fitness.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. What, I know we don't have a lot more time. What about I want to kind of transition to more of, I had actually one of our athletes in our group said, that you're a pretty spiritual person, and they would love to know, how that spirituality translated to food and what relationship with food, and how that transitioned, or did it transition as far as it being, more, more spiritual aspect and being more, are you totally plant-based, or are you, what is your regimen as far as eating goes?
Yeah, I have studied shamanism since 1990 with Brant Secunda, and the what he teaches comes from the Huichol people in central Mexico. He was led through a traditional apprenticeship to learn how to do healings and lead ceremonies and to carry on the tradition. And the Huichol people they're basically vegetarians. They eat corn and beans and bean and corn and beans and a little salsa and squash when the squash is in season, and some seasonal fruits down there. Once in a while they will have some fish or some kind of animal protein, but basically 99% of the time they're vegetarian, plant-based.
Yeah.
And one of the very simple things they do before every meal is just give thanks for the food. And when they harvest before they plant their corn, before they harvest their corn, they do ceremonies to ask that the corn grows and to bring the rains. And then before they eat it, when it's finally done, then they do another ceremony in the fall to give thanks that it grew. And so the whole aspect of eating is part of their spirituality.
Right.
And ultimately, Brand always says food should be medicine for your body, and I really try to adhere to that. And of course, sometimes when somebody has a birthday, I'll have a slice of birthday cake or whatever, but if you look in my fridge, it's mostly plant-based. I'm not 100% plant-based, but mostly it's pretty much as I can purchase it organic.
Right.
Very, very, very little is processed. And I just try to honor my body. Every single time I stick something in my mouth, I'm asking myself, is this nourishing for my body? Is it the nourishment that my body needs right now? I pretty much don't ever eat sugar. That was a big thing that I gave up sort of by accident a number of years ago, and it's been life-changing. And actually my mother, who is in her mid-80s, she had a sweet tooth, and she seemed like she was slipping a little bit, and her body was kind of like, didn't look quite good. And somehow she decided she was going to cut out sugar, and literally in just a couple of weeks of not eating sugar, her mind is sharp, her body has completely transformed.
Wow.
It was astonishing. Talk about a testimonial for not eating sugar. And maybe it's more pronounced in somebody who is older, just because your metabolism is slower, you just can't manage all those carbohydrates.
Yeah.
But and so as far as diet, I just tell people, look at what's on your plate. Is there a good source of fats and oils? Avocado, olive oil, nuts. Is there a complete protein? Grain and legume. If you eat animal products or dairy or whatever, and then is there a good source of healthy carbohydrates? Not refined,
Donuts.
processed, not Wonder Bread, but something healthy. And then are there all the phytonutrients? Is there something with a bunch of color that's going to give you all the stuff that helps you take those macronutrients and utilize them?
Correct. Yeah. No, and that's kind of the mission that Kathleen and I are on, is definitely helping athletes transition their plate to a more, balanced plate, so that they are, recovering and performing the best way they can from the food that they're eating. So it's a huge part of not only being an athlete, just being a human being, of being clear-minded and feeling good, really. And that's what we've really strive to teach our athletes that are in our stuff. So it's definitely a huge part.
One of the challenges is just kind of how food has evolved compared to what it used to have in it. For example, the Wheatchill corn, it's traditional corn that they've had for thousands of years, and it's over 30% protein.
Wow.
Most of the corn that we get here is 3 or 4% protein.
Yeah.
The rest is carbohydrate. So even if you're eating organic, depending on the source of products, they can still be very nutrient deprived.
Deficient, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and that's the challenge, is to find things that are going to be, balancing out in your body. So, Mark, I really appreciate your time. And so, what's your year look like? I know actually you're speaking tonight, aren't you, at the Tri Summit?
I am. Yeah, there's a panel with me and a couple other athletes, and Bob Babbitt's hosting it, and we're just going through some topics, including how the heck do you take this whole COVID thing and turn it into something that is positive for you,
Right.
and how do you get back to racing? And yeah, so hope everybody can tune in for that. I really appreciate you having me on again. It's always a pleasure to chat with you, and great stuff always comes out.
All right. Yeah, no, I look forward to, I'm on the schedule. I signed up last night, so look forward to hearing what you guys have to say.
Awesome.
Mark, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. And I'll be in touch. And so how can people get a hold of you or follow you, either social media wise or your website?
Yeah, you can. My coaching website is markallencoaching.com. I train athletes of all levels. I love working with age groupers. If you're a pro, don't contact me because you're a pain in the butt, you guys know. But yeah, I love working with age groupers. And then also my social media, Mark Allen Grip on Instagram, my Facebook page, Mark Allen Coaching. And I also do a weekly ride on Zwift at 6 p.m. on Pacific time on Tuesdays.
Okay.
I always post those workouts. They're 1-hour workouts, and I post them on my Mark Allen Coaching Facebook page, and also in my Mark Allen Coaching Zwift group Facebook page.
Okay. Wow.
And then of course fitsoulfitbody.com. You can see information on that, the book that Brant and I wrote together called Fit Soul Fit Body.
Yeah.
And we will have upcoming workshops at some point. We've had to cancel a number of them that we usually do each year, but that'll come back also.
Okay, good. Is that in California you do those, or are you doing those in Mexico?
We're actually doing one in North Carolina, hopefully the end of the summer.
Really? Okay.
At the, oh shoot, I can't remember the name of the center. I'll send you that link. But anyway, we do them all over the U.S. We've done them over in Europe. We have done them down in South America and Argentina, a lot of different places. Yeah.
Wow. Well, North Carolina is only a few hours from me, so that would be a good one to get into and try, hopefully meet you in person.
That would be awesome.
All right, Mark. Thank you.
All right.
Look forward to seeing you tonight.
All right. Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.